The beauty about interview intelligence is everybody here in this room can start using it tomorrow. It works with any video solution, video conferencing solution, and it can be integrated directly in the existing workflow. So no interviews workflow has to be changed. It can be plugged in immediately, and it is compliant with any data privacy or data regulation aspect, which is a very important topic to this, because it's sensitive data, but it's really ensured that this information this product is really compliant. And to actually show you what this really looks like in reality, I'm happy to introduce Phenom on stage, and we will guide you through the entire solution and make you very excited about this solution.
Awesome, wonderful. So, like any other hiring manager, Jack, or if you want to put yourself in the position, we're running from meeting to meeting every single day. And I know we're all trying to do those 25, 55-minute meetings thinking we were giving ourselves extra time. But we don't have time. Hiring managers don't have time, such as Jack. He doesn't even have time for a bio break, let alone look at a resume, look at the interview questions that his HR team has prepared before jumping onto that interview. So automatically, before Jack jumps into his interview in 30 minutes, he'll receive an email. Within that email, he'll be able to click on the interview guide and the actual kit and be able now to have all the information he needs at his fingertips to make it a really smart, impactful conversation. So Phenom X Plus will take all of the past conversations that this candidate has had within the organization and summarize them, including their resume. Then also it'll pull out their key skills that are important for that specific role and potential gaps that need to be addressed in this interview. That's exciting, right? But even more so once you scroll down, all of the past conversations from other various individuals that were part of the interview process, you'll be able to have their highlight reels transcribed in a video. And also, one of the worst parts about interviews is collecting the data, the feedback from the hiring managers. You'll be able to have their comments and feedback right away before you even jump into that interview, and things to look for and talk about to address during that interview. So now Jack has all of this information. Additionally, Jack is not an HR individual. He isn't trained on the day-to-day new HR rules, guidelines for interviews, right? But we want to make sure, because Jack is the face of the organization, that he's asking appropriate questions on this interview. But even more so, with Phenom X Plus, it'll actually provide customized questions for that exact role, and based on previous conversations on questions that maybe were missed previously. All of that now will be accessible to Jack within his fingertips before he even jumps on the call. Additionally, Jack isn't practicing interview every single day because, again, before, this was a completely black box. How would he have received coaching before? So before he even jumps on this call, he could have a quick reminder personalized to his previous calls on his talk to listen ratio. I hope my husband has this at one point. Then also at the same time, his talking speed, which if he's like me, it's incredibly high and needs a reminder before he gets on the call with this great candidate. So now Jack is armed with all of this information, making sure that it's going to be a phenomenal conversation and having the best experience for this candidate, because now Jack is the face of your organization.
And now we jump to the interview process directly. And how does a hiring manager, how does an interviewer run an interview today? Probably there's multiple screens open, right? One for the questions, one for the CV, and then one where the interview is happening. And notes are taken on a piece of paper, as we discussed before, and it's a very difficult setup and very challenging for a hiring manager or an interviewer to really stay focused. We all know when taking notes, we cannot listen to the candidate, and we are missing the very important context, and we don't know how to really follow up with this conversation. And this is changing completely now, because everything is in one central place, and once Jack really joins a video interview, we will see the Phenom Companion app on the right side. Very important, from the moment on the candidate joins, everything is automatically recorded and transcribed. I don't have to worry about remembering anything. I can watch it later again. And As the questions, the interview guides are very important, and Jack is not familiar with running interviews every single day. They appear very prominent on the right side, so Jack can really make sure he follows up on this. But Jack is human, Jack is a hiring manager, he really is into small talk. So 10 minutes after the conversation, he didn't really start yet. And then Phenom X Plus comes in and says, hey, you need to get started now. You only have 20 minutes left, and we don't want to schedule a second interview, right? And that's really the power of like the automated transcription and Phenom X Plus, where hiring managers and unexperienced interviewers are trained on the fly. Once he gets started, there might be some very important moments in that conversation that he wants to capture, let it be positive or negative. With a click of a button, this moment is captured, and it's referenced directly to this segment in the interview for easy review later on. Instead of opening up the resume or the candidate's profile on a different screen, it's immediately accessible in the in the video interview. And once the entire conversation is over, Jack navigates to the Insights tab. Here, Phenom X Plus automatically identifies all the key topics that were discussed in this conversation, and the entire conversation is also summarized. Of course, Jack can do manual adjustments and adds his own touch to it, but this really saves a lot of time for the interviewer in that case. And also, to speed up this hiring process, right? Currently, it takes 5 days to give a candidate feedback. One problem is follow-up actions are actually not really written down, and you don't know what to do afterward. This is all automated. You have the follow-up actions immediately available, and the hiring team can really make sure they know exactly what to do after to get this right and this very good candidate into the organization.
So we've all known that we've done a lot of the heavy lifting. We got the candidate in the door. They had a great conversation with the interview team. But as we were just talking, on average, follow-ups, collaboration, receiving the feedback is 5 days within itself in the time frame. And we don't have the luxury of time within this job shortage in terms of candidates. I apologize, candidate shortage. So what will happen now is the minute the conversation's over, Jack gets another summary. Within the summary, he's able to now go into the interview intelligence guide. The entire conversation is completely transcribed. He's able then to see all the key moments from the conversation once he scrolls down and sees all of the highlights. And that also then will comprise of the entire conversation, and Phenom X Plus will summarize the entire conversation for Jack. From there, on the right-hand side, all of the key moments will automatically be pulled out based on the topics that they talked about, and also the conversation intelligence. Was this a fluid conversation? Think about this for some of your roles as well, and how you would be able to see how this person would be even on the phone. This is another way to even think about pre-screening as well, even for candidates. So now Jack has all of this information, but it's time to collaborate with the entire hiring team and see, are we going to make a hire for this exact individual? So Jack is going to complete his evaluation full of the different types of competencies that are important for this exact role and to make this hire. Once he submits his feedback, this is really important now. Based on him submitting the feedback, he's able to see the feedback from the rest of the hiring team that has spoken to this exact candidate. He was not able to see this before because we want this to be an unbiased process. So now Jack sees all of the other individuals that were involved in the conversation and their specific scoring, feedback, and comments. So since this information now has been comprised, it's time for Jack to make a decision. So with that being said, he's going to, once again, reach out to his friendly Phenom X Plus and summarize all of the data that has now been collected between all parties. That includes highlight reels from the conversations. That includes all of the feedback into one digestible format to be able to understand and make sense of. And additionally, there's more than one candidate a part of the hiring process. I didn't even get to that. So now, the technology will compare based on competencies, feedback, candidate to candidate, side by side, and helping you make the right decision every time. So now, since Jack has all of this information, he's now able to make a hire, a smart hire, because we all know the cost of a bad hire.
And we see a lot of smiling faces here, so I guess you're all bought in on the importance and the efficiency increase for the hiring team, right? But let's zoom out a little bit. CHROs and talent acquisition leaders, their main responsibility for the organization is that they find the best talent as quickly as possible. To do that, you need to make sure that your interviewers are actually properly prepared and they are equipped to have a great candidate experience, or to provide candidates with a great experience, because that's key to actually make the final hire. And until now, you didn't know anything about the interviewer performance, who are your top interviewers, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, because nothing was available, nothing was captured. You were just guessing in the dark. Now, because any conversation in the organization is available, we can have a look at this dashboard here. As a manager, as a CHO, you will now have immediate access on who are your top performing interviewers in the organization. And you get insights on the conversational metrics, the sentiment, and you can really dive deep and understand who do I need to train better. But instead of doing it yourself, why don't we ask Phenom X Plus to do it, right? So Phenom X Plus can automatically identify coachable moments, training opportunities within your organization. And when we look at the example of Eleanor here, Eleanor is a very fresh interviewer. She had an interview yesterday and asked a question that was quite inappropriate and shouldn't have been asked. Until today, nobody would have noticed this, and she would have done the same mistake over and over and over again. But now, with interview intelligence and with Phenom X Plus, the manager can immediately spot this risk and provide feedback on the fly. And this feedback is related to the exact moment in the interview, and that's how coaching is done most effectively, right? You see what I did wrong, and you can improve immediately. And that's the very important coaching aspect of this solution, which is often forgotten, but it's super, super important for the entire interview experience and to actually make a good and great hire. And you can not only give direct feedback to a candidate, to an interviewer here, you can also assign dedicated interviewer trainings and additional resources. So you really have an onboarding plan and a coaching plan for all your interviewers that you can really track here in a centralized place, and you will make sure that the interview experience gets to another level. That's interview intelligence. We are really excited to show you this today, and now we open it up for Q&A, and looking forward to this. Thanks. There's one question in the back.
Yes, our company uses Phenom already. When I looked at our apply statistics recently, we had about 13,000 applies. 90% of those are mobile first. So how does the candidate experience look on a mobile device? Because a lot of times our employees don't have access to a PC or a MacBook, so they're going to use their mobile device. So all the other stuff is amazing. I mean, that's great to be able to capture all that and put that in front of the recruiters. But I want to know kind of like what would my candidate experience if we sent them that as an option to interview.
Yeah. So the important aspect is the interview process and the candidate experience doesn't change in the beginning. You can still use the Zoom interviews, Microsoft Teams interviews, Google Meet interviews, whatever system you have currently in place. We directly plug in and we automatically record these conversations. So for the candidate and for the interview process, nothing really changes. The beauty is these conversations are now captured and then can be analyzed and further used in the hiring process to make faster hiring decisions. Yeah, go ahead.
How does the new tool interact with the current on-demand video assessment platform that you offer?
Yeah, so maybe repeat. Or the question was, how does interview intelligence really connect to the video assessment solution that we have available at the moment? Very good question, and that's the beauty of the Phenom platform, right? Everything is connected. Interview intelligence is tightly connected into the scheduling solution and the video assessment solution. And what Feiner also showed, if a candidate already took a video assessment, we take this feedback, we take the answers of these questions of these candidates and incorporate it into a preparation for the hiring manager, so they know exactly what questions have been discussed before. And Phenom X Plus also takes insights and generates additional questions that should be asked in the conversation or in an HR interview or recruiter interview. And this entire context and the data that is collected through the process really ties together and makes the platform so powerful in the end.
They're completely seamless. So it starts and all of it will be connected. So it's just going to add an additional level to what you already have today in terms of the innovation. This is just something we're rolling out today and actually tomorrow as well within I Am Phenom, but it's not accessible within the tool as of yet. But it will be.
Too many hands.
Hi. Quick question. I love the feature of the recommended questions based on the candidate. My only, question around that is we tried to have consistent questions throughout the interview process for a fair and equitable interview. Do these take the place of, or are they in addition to those questions?
That's certainly in addition. So
Okay.
this solution is highly configurable, and if you don't want your hiring managers to get additional questions that they should ask, that's an easy solution, or there's an easy way to turn this off for this specific process, yeah.
You mentioned at the beginning that it was compliant by design. Can you talk a little bit about the compliance efforts that go into this?
Yeah, so these conversations are really personal, both for the recruiters and for the candidates. And by design, any conversation that is recorded is only accessible to either the recruiter itself or the dedicated hiring team. And by default, there's very limited access and very granular access to this recording, and then it needs to be shared with respective people in the hiring team to get additional feedback. And that's how there will be a very strong adoption, and there's no data breach or anything that might be expected, because certain recruiters have access to videos that they shouldn't have access to, and that's why we really build this very granular, and you need to really share this recording with someone else to get their feedback.
So for privacy points, candidates can go in and request a copy of their profile, and they can see everything that's been going on. If they wanted to get a copy of this recording, would they be able to get the recording? What all would they be able to see out of it? Could they see the notes that we've added? What would they be able to get from that?
Yeah. So also, this is a very important aspect. Also here, the organizations are quite flexible. So the entire video is transcribed. You could also decide that the video is automatically deleted after a certain time and you only keep the transcript if that's the important aspect. And if a candidate requests that, of course, the organization is obliged to provide this information. It's similar to the current process. The same with notes and comments. It kind of depends on the organizational perspective on this. If you already share notes and comments of the current hiring decisions, those would be added, yeah.
Thank you. Just two quick questions for you. If we are working with an applicant tracking system like Workday, how is the system integrated in? And then in addition to that, is the video stored on your server or our servers?
So the video is stored on our servers, but in your very specific tenant. So there's a very clear separation of your data to any other data. And regarding the Workday integration, that's something that we can certainly explore, what information you would need to have available in Workday itself. As of today, everything is stored and immediately accessible in the Phenom TXM. Because also when we look at this, the experience around this is super, super critical. To use Phenom X Plus to really help recruiters and hiring teams to be more efficient. It only works within the TXM platform, but we can certainly check what information can be pushed down to Workday, and what information do you need down that in your system of record.
And I could answer that a little bit further. I work on I lead our solution consultant team, so we'll work with you to really understand what stages in your process, because with Workday, you probably have bidirectional. There are specific stages that are triggered for these exact steps, right? And you want that information then, once it's completed, you made the evaluation to go back into Workday to start probably the onboarding process, right? That seamless experience. So we absolutely will work with you to build that out and make sure that it's still seamless. But then also every Workday instance has specific custom fields that are unique to your organization, right? So we need to make sure that those fields are then captured in Workday. So we'll absolutely work with you, and my team is already available and working through some of these examples as of now.
Is the interview kit configurable at all? And in your example, I saw the fit score was listed there, and then some of the gaps. And my fear is hiring managers will go into an interview with a bias if, say, a candidate isn't an A score with all of the things listed in green and nothing in red.
Yeah.
So are those configurable?
So I think also on the interview kit, this is something highly configurable, because depending on your hiring teams and your hiring setup, you want to provide different information to your interviewers, and that is something that again can be turned off. It's configurable, and we will then identify with you what are the information that you really want to have displayed to your interviewers and hiring teams to not create any chance of bias early in the process here. Mm-hmm. And also, like, I think generally the fit score, like certain companies use it a lot more and have it integrated into the entire process. Some others don't really make use of it, so that's also something that is really customizable to make sure it fits to your hiring process.
And there was a question over here. I know she had her arm raised. I think she's wearing, I can't see, an orange. Yes, there you go.
Hi, thank you. So my name is Emily Fatulet from International Rescue Committee, and my question is around DEI and B. And I noticed like you have fit score, and as a recruiter now directing a team of 25, like I'm trying to teach them, we're not looking for fit. We're looking for match of requirements, and we're looking for them to bring all of their diverse perspectives. And so how will your system, your technology keep up with those trends in terms of making sure that that language and lexicon is appropriate and relevant?
Yeah. Do you want me to answer that? Great. Move out of the way. I've been preparing for this one. Okay, so we actually have a ton of conversations around AI. We understand New York 144. We also have a ton of clients within the government space. You also had a conversation with my counterpart, Lindsay, earlier today. Very nice to meet you. Your mission's amazing. One of the things that's really important is our AI, we stand on 4 specific pillars, which is it's explainable, it's defensible, it's configurable, and also I forgot the 4th one because I'm a little stressed out about this situation. The really important piece is our AI does not take in EEO. It does not take in anything that could create bias. So it is specifically around pillars, around skills for the job, based on the job description that's pulled from your ATS. It's based on job title and similar job titles, and we've been collecting, curating job seeker employee job data for the last 12 years. We sit on 1.2 billion data points, 400,000 job titles, and 570,000 skill sets. So we match every time you open a job and create a job graph for every single one of them, because skills could be fluid, right? And then from there, years of experience, if that's relevant, and if location's relevant. That is the only key criteria that makes the fit score. So that's really important to note. And then with your organization, we'll start learning your behaviors in terms of that's where the human in the loop comes in. And we could, of course, at any point in time, make adjustments, remove some of those exact, like actual pillars that we utilize for our AI. And overall, we could also just take it off as well. But we really truly stand with our AI because it does not provide, and we have tons of data in terms of not collecting anything that would create a biased opinion on this candidate. Did we answer your question?
Yes, you did.
But we could talk offline as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just also thinking of like how the terminology that the system
The
actually
fit.
uses.
Yes.
We don't use fit.
Absolutely.
For clones of ourselves. So I'm just
Yes.
asking, is that configurable?
That is, and we have the ability to make some adjustments because we, of course, have a couple other clients that the minute they see fit, they're like, you can't assume and tell someone that they're a fit. So we could absolutely talk with you offline, but like I said, we work with several even government contractors and some of the most risk-averse organizations. Awesome, yes.
Yes. What does the program look like if it's a hiring team versus a hiring manager?
Can you repeat?
A hiring team versus a hiring manager, if it's multiple people interviewing.
So that's actually, I cannot go back to the section now, but that's actually a very important topic. In the example interview here, we saw one hiring manager and the candidate, right? If there's multiple people in the call, that's even more powerful because you will see the exact talk track of each and every person. And the companion app is accessible to every every interviewer in this conversation. So all the different highlights and key moments and notes will be available afterwards in the transcript. And it's a direct collection of all the different feedbacks and notes that were collected. And you don't have to ask them to debrief afterward because everything will be available, if that answers your question.
But if they're interviewing at the same time, if it's multiple people.
So multiple candidates?
If it's a panel interview.
So with multiple candidates. Or with
Yeah,
multiple?
well, if they're all interviewing at the same time, like if all three of us are interviewing at the same time.
I think it's an example that we had where there was more than one individual within the company that's interviewing this candidate. So I think of this as like a panel interview.
Yes.
Yeah, we had an example of it earlier. We just took it out.
Yeah, but
Yes.
so that is certainly, so then in the call you would have four people, and then all the notes and all the information of all four people in this video call are automatically captured.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fully supported, and multiple interviewers can do a panel interview with a candidate here.
Okay, thank you.
And if offline, we could show you live examples because we were going to show that. We just had to condense everything where it's a panel, everyone's on the same screen, and they're collaborating together.
And Sebastian, I think we're at time. So,
Sorry.
yep. So, awesome questions. Go.
Perfect.
Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
all.